Ladies and gentlemen, in keeping with military tradition, we pay special tribute to Gregory Moran on the occasion of his promotion to Lieutenant Colonel today. And it's really unfortunate that we couldn't postpone this just a little bit longer, Greg, because we might be promoting you in the Space Force, which some of you may know, Greg has actually applied for Space Force, and we won't find out for a couple more months. But for right now, I think it's long overdue and well-deserved that we go forward with this military tradition today. At this time, I'd like to pay some respects and welcome some very, very special people today. We're joined by Greg's friends and family from around the globe, including his partner, Romero Martinez, way over there. You can't see him, unfortunately. His father and mother, Mike and Jerry Moran. His sister and brother-in-law, Shelly and Eric Morchkos, as well as several aunts, uncles, and cousins in Texas, Maryland, Virginia, Utah, Washington State, Ohio, and around the world. Thank you so much.
Hey, stop that, guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin the ceremony today with a tradition of playing the national anthem. This recording is a very special one. It's played by the Texas A&M Marching Band. Please stand as we pay tribute to our colors.
Hi, Aunt Maria. Oh. What?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Slagle, colleague and friend of Greg. And it is absolute my honor and privilege to be the official for this ceremony today. So Greg, I have to tell you that one of the best gifts you can give somebody is to ask them to officiate a promotion ceremony. We attend a lot of promotion ceremonies, but have someone to come to you and ask you this is a very special moment. It's a humbling moment, and it's one of the greatest gifts that you can give in our military to give me that honor. So I want to say thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'll try not to butcher this too bad for you today.
It means a lot to me to have you be able to officiate even in the virtual environment we have. So thank you.
And you got a narrator too. So how about that, right? So first off, I kind of made a mistake from the very beginning here because this is Greg's promotion. And I said hello and welcome, and that was wrong. For those of you who know Greg, the proper way to say hello is howdy. If you've read an email from Greg, if you've talked to him at all, the first thing you typically hear is howdy. So everyone, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, howdy. Welcome to the ceremony today. Now, sticking with military tradition, I'm going to talk a little bit about Greg's career, briefly kind of going through it. But really, we're here not because of your accomplishments. I mean, that's a big part of it. But it's because you have demonstrated the potential to serve at the higher grade. That they have seen something with you, the skills and the ability. And it's not having all the awards and everything else that you've done. It's what they've seen in you and how you can operate at the next level. And you are, well, you're far past and ready to exceed. Excuse me, my mask keeps falling down. But Greg joined us from ROTC. In 2005, he graduated Aggies, and I should really have a cowboy bell, right? So I apologize again, no cowboy bell today. So he was assigned to the mothership in acquisitions. That's Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There he worked for Air Force Material Command and was assigned a special duty to the 303rd into aeronautical systems, integrating very SIGINT sensors, essentially those sensors that detect special signals and communications, integrated into these, some of the most incredible aircraft we have. U-2, the Predator, the Reaper out there, the AC-130s, the 135s, and so forth and so forth. So from the very beginning, Greg started making an impact of equipping some of our key assets out there with some of the most advanced sensors to help us keep this nation safe. And as I went through his record, everyone said, go to test pilot school. And they really thought that he was going to be an aviation geek. And he might have been, but they really got it wrong. They really got it wrong. Because after that, they sent you to the research labs and you started working space systems. And I think something went off in Greg. He's like, you know, planes are cool, but space is really cool. They're not constrained by the terrestrial environment here. And he started working on some really cool space experiments and really branching off into some very exciting work. And one thing I found really interesting is that he had this supervisor that some of you may or may not have heard of, Major Brent Grime. I don't know if you, I just, for some reason I recognize that name, but no, I think it's really cool that you had the ability to work with Colonel Grime when he was a major at that time. I thought that was really neat. But what I missed here is during his time at AFMC, he also volunteered and was hand-selected by the Air Force Research Labs commander to work on a workforce challenge. And there he developed a very special tool to help stop vehicles non-lethally that were coming up to a checkpoint. And at the time, this was very critical for us. And I think it's fascinating because Greg did a fantastic job, put a lot of time, effort into it. He says, this is the biggest part of my time of being a lieutenant. And he lost. But the best part about that was the actual technology that you developed is being produced. And it was put into the catalog and was sent out to our warfighters to help keep them safe. So you didn't really lose. You really made a difference there. So following that, Greg finished up at A4L, discovered his love for space, and he went off to AFIT, the Air Force Institute of Technology. And unfortunately, he decided to do it the hardest possible way. He didn't go there to get his master's degree. He went to get 2 master's degrees. In fact, he was the only student in his class to get 2 master's degrees. And you graduated with honors. It was incredible. So you walked out of there with an aeronautical engineering degree and a systems engineering degree.
Astro and systems.
Astro, there you go. So absolutely, I mean, right off the bat, as a lieutenant, he's really showing that he's got the dedication, he's got the technical chops at AFIT. He's like, I'm not just going to do 1, I'm going to do 2. I'm going to show up all of you. Really making me look bad here. But following that, he was promoted to captain. Now, one thing I didn't ask you is, did you go through the captain board at that time? Or was that pre-captain board?
It was pre-captain board.
Okay. So following that, he got assigned back to the research labs at Kirtland Air Force Base. And he started working space again. And he was doing a lot of hands-on work with different payloads and weather systems and a lot of classified stuff. And it was really cool. But what he really wanted to get into was space operations. He really wanted to get into that quite a bit. So much so that when I was working there as an exec, I was looking for my replacement. And Greg was on the top of a very, very short list. And when we interviewed him, he's like, I don't want this job. I want to go work space operations. And I said, okay, got it. And when my boss came to ask me about it, he's like, what do you think? I'm like, well, he doesn't want the job, but I think he's the best man for the job. And he was the best man for the job. So I know it's not a job that you wanted to do, but it got you exec time out early. You did a fantastic job transitioning from one commander to the next commander. And I think it really set you up that you probably don't ever have to do exec duty again. So,
Well, thank
even
you.
though you didn't want to do it. Following that, at Kirtland, the best part, I think, of the exec time was that you were able to meet Romero. So even though the job may have sucked, I think one of the best things in your life probably came out of it is you got to meet a very wonderful person and someone you confidently have to share your life with. So I think that's a very special time. And you guys have been together ever since, following you around wherever you go, which is pretty cool. Soon after that, Greg was assigned down to the NGA, National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, and really did an incredible job there. He oversaw a lot of the networks and the different systems that when we have all this intelligence coming in, he was overseeing a lot of the contracts to make sure that we can process, store that data, and get it out to the people to actually make a difference in our world. And he took a couple different jobs there, and I can just see going through his record, like one of the brilliant things about Greg, and that you really can't see in his career, is that he does not conform to the status quo. And this just goes so much. He always wants to know why. It's very important. Like, we've always done it this way. You want to know why. And if you can tell him this is why, and it's made sense before, he's be finding 100%. But he's one of those big thinkers that stops and kind of looks at a bigger picture. And this really goes down to, we were sitting around at just having a meeting one time talking about how we had a very lean environment in one of our offices. And Greg was one of the few people to step up. And because I said, yeah, we're lean, but we gotta be resilient. And Greg's like, well, you can't be resilient if you're lean. Like, you have to choose what you want to be here. You're going to be lean, then you have to understand you're not resilient. And it was a very insightful statement to make. And that is just the kind of person Greg is. And you see that throughout his career, really approaching things from a very different perspective, but also with such dedication and making a difference everywhere he goes. Following that, he moved over to the Rapid Capabilities Office. And I really think you showed up at an interesting time. As the Rapid Capabilities Office kind of developed and started understanding what their space capabilities were, it kind of transformed into a group and really started to take off and grow. From when you showed up in 2017, it's grown substantially and continues to grow as well. And you see a lot of things on his performance reports, most MVP, just everything, that he's made such a difference. And unfortunately, I can't talk about a lot of the work he's done. I have to kill all of you, and that'd be very unfortunate and be a terrible end to this ceremony today. But I can talk about one thing that he did recently, and he has been overseeing the X-37 space plane. And for those of you who don't understand or know what that is, it is the world's only autonomous space test vehicle that the Air Force puts up into space, tests assets, and brings back. And Greg was responsibility for overseeing the launch and the recovery and the landing. So much so that he was a critical asset that when COVID hit and we started hitting all these challenging times, he was still going down there and making sure that everything was prepared. And you were a key cog to making sure that it was a successful mission, that even with the last minute little hiccups and changes in the weather and so forth, it was a success. And a lot of that credit goes to your leadership and to your fortitude, just moving forward. So with that, a couple more comments to make. One of my favorite things is going through someone's record and just picking out little pieces of what people say. And I just wanted to share a couple of them that some of your supervisors throughout your career has said about you. And I think it's really true. My MVP, setting a bold future, a gentleman. And honestly, that's the first evaluation I've ever seen where someone was called a gentleman. And I don't think it could be more fitting than for you, because you are true a gentleman. Decisively led, one of my favorites as well. Because one of the problems we find in Air Force leadership is people aren't decisive. They want all the data before they make a decision. And for being able to stand out and to make a decision and to lead boldly is a quality we're looking for. And one of my favorites is adroitly led. Now I have to ask you this. Did you write that?
I did. That was something I wanted to see if it made it through into the record, and it actually did.
Absolutely cracked me up. I loved it. If you don't know what adroitly means, it's very skillfully did something, so skillfully led. And I was just very impressed that made it through. I thought that was pretty cool.
The 10-penny worth.
But Greg is a very humble, reliable, friendly, caring person. And I think very well of you. And I'm very, like I said, I'm very honored to be here today. And we don't always get things right. in the Air Force. But I can tell you what, your promotion today, we absolutely got right. Well deserved. And you know what? I think I've talked enough. Now, remain seated, please. Attention to orders. The President of the United States, acting upon the recommendation of the Secretary of the Air Force, has placed special trust and confidence in the patriotism, integrity, and abilities of Major Greg M. Moran. In view of these special qualities and his demonstrated potential to serve at the higher grade, Major Moran is promoted to the grade of Lieutenant Colonel, United States Air Force, effective August 1st, 2020, by order of the Secretary of the Air Force.
Woo! Yeah, baby.
Now, Mary, on the right, please. All right. We will now administer the oath of office. Raise your right hand. I state your full name.
I, Gregory Moran,
Having been appointed a Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force,
having been appointed a Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Air Force,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon the office on which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my distinct honor to introduce to you for the first time, Lieutenant Colonel Greg Moran.
Yay! Yay! Congratulations!
Congratulations.
This is awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for flexing. And
You guys muted Greg as well.
oh, there we go. I'm back. So I know it's a big military tradition, and I know it's a tradition in my family that we love to party. So this was difficult. This was a challenge, and again, I appreciate everybody's participation and flexibility. So, Steve, thank you so much for officiating, and again, flexing as we are here in masks and virtually. And I did appreciate those comments and the remarks about being humble, because I do stand here today honored and humble to represent the family and the legacy ahead of me. You might not know it, or you might not be able to tell, but I have the lieutenant colonel ranks on my shoulders from my grandfather and my uncle. And I looked up to them growing up, and it's with great pride that I represent and carry the tradition forward as a lieutenant colonel. My grandfather retired and my uncle retired as lieutenant colonels. So I have their legacy to keep forward, and will continue that throughout the remainder of my career. In fact, it was exactly 50 years ago in July that my grandpa Frank retired from the Air Force Reserves after having a exceedingly long career, starting out in the Army as an enlisted person at Wright-Patterson Field as a perimeter guard. That was before there was an Army Air Corps. That was before he transitioned from the Army into the Army Air Corps and into the Air Force. So as his career transitioned through multiple services, so does mine as well. And I look forward to serving in the Space Force if they choose to accept me. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Like we said, we'll find out here in September, and we'll take it one day at a time. So I'm again humbled to represent that legacy. The other couple of thoughts that I had as we pulled together today's ceremony is that it does take teamwork, and it takes everybody pulling together. It takes distributed effort across the globe, and I have appreciate the help from my parents in Texas. My dad's running the Zoom call, so thank you, Dad. And it's streamed live on YouTube, so thank you to everybody out there for participating virtually as well. We made it happen because of everybody pulling together, and I take that into my work as well. In our office, we tend to do a lot of things individually. We tend to be responsible for a lot of things on our own, but it's a constant reminder when events like this happen that it's not any one individual's effort that makes progress. It's actually a contribution of many people all working together toward the same end. And I want to see that continue throughout my career as well. The transition, like Steve talked about, into the Space Force is even more appropriate as we are so nascent, we are so early on in the development of this new service that we can build our own culture. We can actually do activities, do events, create a new normal of what it's like to be in a military field. And I think the Space Force has a responsibility to evolve and adapt, to be flexible, and to be forward-looking into what a future military is going to be like. And I take that responsibility myself, and we'll carry that forward as well. So that's the culture of the Space Force, and I definitely want to own it. That being said, there's a Egyptian belief that each person dies twice. The first time is when you take your last breath, and the second time is when your name is said for the last time. And if you continue that, if you make a difference and continue to make a difference in the lives of others, in building culture, in creating a team, and you can live such that you could have immortality, which would be an interesting topic, an interesting concept. But the more you work together and the bigger impact, the more you can have change, the more you have impact into the future. So that being said, I have a couple more thank yous, and then we'll move on to the virtual reception. I couldn't have done it without my partner, Omero. I have a little token for you. This is tradition. Spouse gets flowers, but these are in a ball jar, so it's stylish and it's acceptable for being around the house. Thank you. Mom and Dad, you actually should have had flowers delivered sometime today, and if they haven't gotten here yet, please stand by. There will be some flowers.
They're beautiful, Greg. Thank you so much.
I'm glad they made it through. At least our logistics system worked out. And to wrap up, before we move on to the festivities, there's sometimes you really can't say a lot about the work that you do in the military, the classified nature. I appreciate Steve doing a pretty good job sharing with the family and sharing with everybody what I've been up to. But there's a quote, oh, I didn't print it out. There's a quote that usually appears in most of the RCO events programs, and it has something to do with the responsibility and dedication that it takes to work in a classified environment, the sacrifices that it takes to do things that not a lot of people will ever know about, but to realize that it's important anyway and to keep doing it. So that's my plan. And I'm going to keep going in the Air Force, into the Space Force, and hopefully make a difference in a lot of people's lives. So thank you all for attending today. With that, we'll turn it over to the festivities.
Clap, 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 clap.
Congratulations, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations,
Yes,
Greg. We're so proud of you.
congratulations.
Congratulations. This is wonderful.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Last couple of things, the Air Force song. Again, a tradition to commemorate an Air Force event with the Air Force song. And there's actually a special virtual flyover. I coordinated the launch of the X-37. It was streamed to YouTube. There we go. And so we have that to show as a commemoration of my activity here at the RCO.
That's my kind of flyover.
All right, we'll conclude today's ceremony with the Air Force song and the flyover. We go into the wild blue yonder, climbing high into the sun. Here they come, he's a beating our thunder. Out of love, give him the gun. Give him the gun!
Hey!
Off we one, hell of a roar.
Hey, nothing will stop the you. Maybe this is it.
Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket with USSF-7 for the United States Space Force on a mission dedicated to America Strong.
It's kind of neat, isn't it? Chilly. Summer.
Thank you, everybody.
Hey, one quick brag on Greg. If he hasn't told you, when he was down there at the launch, he had the opportunity to brief multiple times the Secretary of the Air Force, the Chief of Space Operations, General Raymond, and a number of very senior dignitaries, and he did an absolutely astounding job.
Thank you, sir. It was an awesome time, awesome experience. All right. We do have a little bit of bubbly on our end. Nope. Why?
Glass.